Welcome back to the Lace My Podcast, and we back like we never left. And since you back, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Alright? We got another phenomenal episode for you. I'm excited. Today's guest is coming to us from Pennsylvania. Alright? Another shoe customizer, artist. The way that he's taking and the level he's taking his shoe artwork to is a whole new level and elevation. Excited to have this gentleman on the podcast. JDub, welcome to the podcast.
Listen, it takes wisdom to grab these sneakers and spin them. Cut a couple of linen and match them up with the denim called Davidedo. He'll cook it up like a kilo and have your Air Ones appropriate with the stilo. He's no Lilo, but he's mean with the stitch.
Thank you. Appreciate you for having me.
Yes, sir. Let the audience know a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from.
All right, so I'm Jared. I go by JDubCustoms. From Delaware County, Pennsylvania, born and raised, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. Pennsylvania. Okay.
Pennsylvania, PA.
Yeah. So what got you into customizing, doing art?
I think it's probably the same thing that got most people into customizing, which is just liking shoes, liking art. I'm family of three. I'm not gonna ask my mom for $300 sneakers and stuff when she got bills to pay and things like that. So I gotta stand out somehow. And I wasn't buying the foam. I mean, when I was in school, the foams was popular. There's a lot of shoes that were popular that were up there in price. So I just had to kind of find my own way, try to get some of these slightly used on eBay and add some paint to it and just kind of stand out and be different in that regard.
Cool. So how long have you been customizing shoes?
It's been a minute. It has been a minute. I think my first post on Instagram was in 2015. So, but I'm at least 10 years.
Okay.
But I would probably give it 11. I would probably reach and say 11 to be honest with you. But concrete at least 10 years.
Okay. Interesting. So over 10, 11 years of doing it, what has given you the drive to continue to do this? To paint, choose, and customize and keep going back to that artwork business part of this?
I think just evolving, like just getting better and better, and you could always get better. Like there's certain elements to customizing that you could stay in and kind of max out at, in my opinion. If you're doing some sort of character work and it's like, all right, it's looked like you ripped it right off the cartoon and put it on the shoe, and it's pretty much flawless. But there's just so many elements to sneaker designing. There's, obviously the deconstruction with the sewing and, different characters, realism, patterns, and just making it look as clean as possible. So, I mean, there's always something new to go after.
Okay. So do you feel like there's a ceiling at some point in this and what you're doing?
I do not, honestly. I mean, I guess theoretically there might be a ceiling, but with how relatively new sneaker customization is, I haven't seen anybody hit it. So I really don't think so. I mean, because you could always work with a new client. You could always get bigger and better. I wouldn't say that customizing sneakers is extremely mainstream yet. Like, obviously, it's, there's the My Calls, My Cleats. There's so many people doing the custom sneakers and getting the custom sneakers done for them. But it's not like a household name, because when I tell people, yeah, I do custom sneakers or whatever the case may be, they're they don't have a fundamental understanding of it quite yet. So I think we'll get there eventually, and then maybe, but it's always going to get bigger and better, and you could always get bigger and better.
Yeah, always room for growth and improvement.
Mm-hmm, absolutely,
for sure. Just building your craft in that space. Starting off early, you said you've been doing this 10, 11 years. Was there anybody that like inspired you or that you watched to be able to get some tips and tricks from or anything like that?
So tips and tricks, you kind of just had to do what you kind of just had to, trial and error. Because I remember my first custom pair was like a Galaxy on a pair of Blazers and stuff like that, and it was like the paint from Walmart, that cracked
Mm,
immediately. I
mhm.
didn't even know what Angelus was at the time. I mean, they were a thing, but I didn't know about them yet. But in the very beginning, I think Mosh and some other people, El Cappy was one of my favorites at the time. I'm not even sure who else was really doing it back then, but those are the two that I distinctly remember being my
Mm,
first two favorites.
mm.
King of Sneakers was also, I think they were probably like the first people who you would look up on YouTube how to do this, how to do that, and then their videos would pop up. So I think them three starting off were probably my big three starting off.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I have to go check out some of them. I think I'm only aware of one of them. So,
Hmm.
um, see if they still got some stuff that's living out
Yeah,
there on the
I
social media
think
space.
yeah, I think King of Sneakers still slightly does some things. Last time I saw them, they were doing some sort of roller skates or something. And El Cappy, I don't know what he does, to be honest with you. But obviously, Mosh, I'm assuming, is the one you've heard of before because he's still going crazy.
King of Sneakers is the one that I've heard of.
Oh, okay.
It was a while ago. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it just jogs my memory on some stuff. I was trying to think of this guy's last name. Um, that because the first time I tried them, same thing. I didn't know about Angelus or
Hmm.
Alpha Six or any of that stuff. I was trying to paint on some Vans with some Walmart uh, shoes, and
Yeah.
it was a long, long time ago. But there's this guy. It was Jason something. He was in California. I can't remember his name. But he would go through and like show how he prepped his shoes and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff and do some early paint stuff, and then he just kind of stopped. He
Hmm.
built the, I think it was called the think tank or something like that,
Yeah.
art studio, and then he just kind of stopped.
Hmm.
Couldn't find any more stuff on him. He's kind of stopped posting. But talking about prepping, looking at some of your work, there's some stuff that me personally that like I'm afraid to touch, right? Like I saw you
Hmm.
did some Jordan 11 lows, and you did some foams. Could you talk about like your prepping process for that material, because it's a totally different material than working with a leather or or just like a traditional fabric working with patent leather or something like that. What does that process look like?
So with the Jordan 11s, you really got if you have a white pair of Jordan 11s, if it's like the cherries or something, then you could get away with putting some leather dye on the patent leather or something like that. But I tend to stay away from the classics. That, if they're already so amazing in a lot of the colorways they have, there's not a real need to touch them. The foam posits, you got to stay away from the foam posits. I am not a fan of painting foam posits. I've painted, I think, three foam posits or maybe four, but getting the details on them is a headache. I remember having to do the off-white foam posits. That was a pain. And then I did a Boondocks foam posits, and those had such excruciating detail that I did not know. I don't know how I got through it because it was just paint does not want to stick on those. So you gotta really prep that shoe.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess one of my concerns in that space whenever I'm making something
Mm-hmm.
is to make sure that it's wearable, right? Like that's why some of those materials for me could be frightening, because I'm like, as soon as they put their foot in this and bend the toe, it's a wrap,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
scuff up against something, it's a wrap. So that's why I was curious about like what your process was with that and how you made that work.
yeah. There's definitely some ways to do it. Sand free, I believe it's called. Where is it at? Sand free, yes. It adds like a gritty texture almost for the paint to stick onto. Um, Sandpaper, but you want to go kind of light on the sandpaper because you don't want to scratch the surface, and you want to add as little paint as possible. So if you add as little paint as possible plus like a low grit sandpaper, you're going to see the sandpaper damage. So you got to kind of find a happy medium there, and then it's kind of all hopes and prayers after you add the finisher.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of patience. So,
Definitely.
one of my sayings is creating is problem solving, because
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like in doing this, like you have to try to find solutions for stuff or fix little minute things. You're like, crap, how do I do that? And then
Exactly.
just trying to work through that process, and then get to a hopefully a well ended project and not have to
Hmm.
scrap it and start over. So, but one of the things I wanted to talk about, like looking through your work, it seems like there's been this journey and evolution to where now, like the last couple of posts I've seen, with like the Venoms or the
Hmm.
deconstructed ones, the other deconstructed ones with it looks like some cotton or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
I got those right here somewhere. I don't know if you can see them, but they're somewhere
oh,
back
okay,
there.
yeah, 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 I see him. Um, what made you move to that route to say I'm gonna start deconstructing these and really take it to a space of almost this is a sculpture now versus a wearable piece of art.
That's yeah. I mean, that's definitely how I like to look at it. It's definitely more of an art piece than anything. I like sneakers as a canvas, but in order to wear them, there is a lot of limitations. I mean, you know that. Like, you can't paint the bottoms of the shoes. It has to keep the structural integrity in order to wear them. And I've always had certain ideas in mind that I wasn't able to execute because of the wearability. So now I was just thinking, well, maybe you don't have to wear them because sometimes you talk about sneakers and custom sneakers and they're like, oh yeah, that's cool. But I would probably just sit them up somewhere and just look at them. And I'm like, that does make sense. You don't have to wear it, especially if you're going to pay a good amount for it, especially for like the avid, you know, person who's buying sneakers. They're not really spending $200-300 on a sneaker. So when they spend, double, triple that, they're definitely not going to be wearing it. So, put them up somewhere. So I'm like, okay, cool. So they like sneakers, they like art. Let's really try to get a different intersection of it. Instead of just having a sneaker that you can wear with art on it, let's try to combine them in a different way. So my head just started kind of going places with that. So I just said, all right, let's see what I can do. And I mean, everybody when you're a kid has had a sneaker that you just wear to the ground,
Mm.
and it starts talking, it starts flapping and stuff. So I'm like, what happens if it really was talking? Like, what happens if it's really flapping? That's where this one came from, at least.
Yeah,
This one where I'm thinking, what happens if it was really talking? So I just started going crazy on that. I watch a lot of artists that are outside the sneaker space, and I took a lot of inspiration on that. Some people on YouTube, North of the Border is probably one of my biggest inspirations for that particular shoe. He does a lot of that, like weird, taking it too far type of art,
mhm.
and I really dig that.
Yeah. It definitely stood out and jumped off the screen when I saw those, the Venom ones and the other
Hmm.
ones. I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Like with taking this to a different space.
Yeah,
Um,
and then
so
I made these. So then I was thinking, not to interrupt you, sorry, I made these, and then I was thinking the Venom movie was coming out, so I was like, let me just make some Venoms too, just
yeah,
to make it even grimier. Yep, go ahead though.
yeah. So there are two different things that you brought up in conversation. One was pricing art, but two,
Hmm.
the other thing was what you just mentioned, like the timeliness of putting stuff out, right? I don't know how much people think about, hey, this is coming out or
Hmm.
this is coming up. Let me make sure I put something out for Valentine's or whatever the case may be. How much of that goes into what you're doing, and then kind of break down or give an idea of what your pricing model looks like?
Hmm. So as far as the timeliness, like I said, I've been doing this for 10, 11 years. I still have not got it down. It's every year I tell myself, all right, you're going to do a Valentine's Day custom. And every year, with the holidays, it snowballs so quick into the Valentine's Day. So I don't think I've ever really got one done in time. So I might not be the best person to come to for that. But I think, just staying kind of online and just present to where things are at. Like, I want to make a Minecraft shoe because I know the Minecraft movie's coming out April 4th. Will I? I have no clue. I don't know if I'm going to have the time or whatever the case may be, because the direction I'm going kind of now, it has to be super intricate and it has to really catch people's eyes. So it would be cool, be able to make a Minecraft shoe, post it on YouTube, get the reign over of people who like the movie and like the Minecraft and just happen to see it and it work in the algorithm. So it would be cool if it happens, but I'm not sure. As far as pricing goes, it really depends on what level you're at, I guess. If you're trying, I don't. That's a good question, because if you're trying to make it a living, you can't. It's pretty hard to make it a living, to be honest with you. I mean, there's definitely been times where I've gotten enough to make it a living, but I wouldn't pour everything into it to make it a living off rip. So the pricing, I guess, it's hard for me to say. I'll just say what I did when I was coming up, because I can't really speak for everybody else. But when I was in high school. Yeah, I was in high school when I first started, so I would have been pricing super low, because I remember I just made shoes just for myself, and then people eventually wanted me to make them for them. So I'm okay. I'll do some sneakers for you, and then it's like, all right, this is like cool. Like people want to buy my art and stuff like that. So you didn't want to, these are other high schoolers who don't have any money. You don't want to scare them away with a crazy price. So I was charging, like, depending on what it was. If I was just painting a swoosh, I'm all right. You got it for $10. Like I was just doing super low. Like it's enough to cover my cost of the paint. What is time to a high schooler? It was really nothing. So I didn't even factor in the time. But then it started getting more and more intricate, and then my prices had to start going up. And then it's hard to try to even price hourly in a way, because of how much thought usually goes into it, and then the actual painting product, and then the pickup drop off. Like it's a lot. So I would just keep in mind that you don't want to scare anybody off, but you also don't want to be hating what you're doing while you're doing it. You don't want to say, man, I should have got more for this. This is ridiculous. You're mumbling under your breath stuff while you're
Yeah.
taping the shoe. So, whatever you deem right. Look at what everybody else is doing and try to mitigate off that. Look at what other people's prices are and think, okay, maybe I could pay a little bit more for that. And then, people are always going to complain. People are always going to give you, compliments in a sense. If you drop something for this price, there's always going to be people on both sides who are, saying stuff. But more times than not, neither one of those people are really going to be the ones to buy it. To be honest with you, if you price something at $200 for just the art, there's going to be people saying, no, I can buy, LeBron's for $200, and let alone the shoe. And there's going to be people saying, oh, you should be pricing it $10,000, whatever the case may be. But to be honest, neither one of those people are really going to be your core audience at the end of the day. So you just got to kind of hone in, see what works for you, and then just continue to do that.
Announcement for you. So the website is up. So this episode is sponsored by Davidedo Designs. Who is Davidedo Designs, you may say? He is I and I is him. I'm an artist, shoe customizer, creator as well. That's why I'm so excited to have people on this podcast sharing their experience. Please go to my website, DavidedoDesigns.com. That's DavideO Designs with an S at the end.com. Alright? Copy some merch. If you want to bring your idea, your dream, your vision to life and put them on a pair of shoes, you can also do that there. You can fill out the questionnaire, information, all of it's available on the website. Go and check your boy out on the website. Support me. I greatly appreciate you. Back to the podcast. Yeah, that's how I feel like it's always a tough one. But yeah, I know a lot of people try to go by hourly in that space. So, which is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, it's hard to go hourly, because once I get a custom concept in my brain and I know I have to do it, I'm thinking about it pretty much 24/7. I'm just like, so there's really no hourly for me.
Yeah. I know people don't really understand, like, okay, first I got to come up with the concept, and then I need to check materials and all this other stuff. And then if you show something to the customer and they go, well, could we tweak this? Or now you're back at, square one. So yeah, no, I definitely hear you on that. Just curious in that space. So what's been the driving factor for you in throughout this process of like, growing your customs, growing your artwork? What's been that driving force for you?
Like I said something similar earlier, but just getting better. It's just so entertaining to watch yourself just improve and improve and improve and just see what you can do. Knowing that, I've always liked art when I was a kid. When I was, I can't even remember, 4 years old, I was into art. I was doing art. And I remember certain points where I would either visit my grandmother's house and she would put paint in front of me and I distinctly remember I was like 8 or 9 or something. She put paint in front of me and I'm thinking, what is this? Like how I would try to move I thought it was like a pencil, like you try to paint and it just didn't go where you wanted it to go. And I'm
Yeah,
thinking, there's no way people can do this. So now looking back at that and seeing what I could do now, I'm like, it's just cool to me. Like looking back at things you never thought you could do and then be able to actually do it in the future. So it's little things like that that kind of just keep me motivated and keep me moving.
dope. Um, we talked a little bit earlier about like tough canvases to be able
Mm-hmm.
to paint on, right? What would you say is your favorite canvas to paint on when it comes to a shoe,
My
and why?
favorite. My favorite. I mean, this got to be the most popular answer, but it's got to be an Air Force One. Like
That is, I hear that a lot. Yep.
the Air Force One, just because almost in the opposite way of a Jordan 11, like we said earlier, is that the Jordan 11 already has beautiful colorways, so it's really not as necessary to touch it. Air Force One is just white,
Yeah.
so whatever you do to it, it's not going to be compared to anything else except for just the white Air Force One. So it's just, and then it's all leather. It's just so easy to work on. I think an underrated one might be the Blazer though, because there's not a lot of stitching on that shoe. It's very blank. It's just just as leather, just as white. So I think a Blazer might be a slept on one, but to me, it's going to be an Air Force. I mean, and that's a problem with the Air Jordan 1 is that there are beautiful colors out there. So you are kind of in competition with those. So I would say a Blazer or an Air Force. It's got to be.
Yeah, I do like the Jordan one just
Hmm.
because, well, really like the mids and the highs just because there's more space to work with
Yeah.
um in that space. And then sometimes they save some work, right? So like if I
Yep.
want a different like bottom or sole or something on it, I get a couple different options there.
Yeah. That makes
But
sense.
I do like those as well. I like the um Air Force Ones too, but I would say Jordan ones are going to be my number ones, but a lot of people definitely say Air Force Ones for sure. I hear that a lot. Um, what's something that you're working on now that you're excited about?
So right now, like you said, the evolution of what I've kind of been doing, where I'm making more sculptures more than anything, is the deconstruction of sneaker culture. So I'm making like a few statues that are all kind of through lined with sneaker culture as a topic. So this one, like I said, was the first one I did, and this is the sneakerhead. Obviously, just the people going crazy for sneakers.
Mhm.
That one back there you mentioned earlier with the cotton is the explosion of sneakers and just the popularity of them and how they've kind of grown over time. I just finished. I don't know if you can even see this one.
I can see a
Bring
little
it
bit of it.
closer.
Yeah.
This one is the history of sneakerheads. Got the little plaque on the bottom,
Oh wow.
and this just talks about the history of sneakerheads. And I have videos on my YouTube channel going
Yeah.
deep into all three of them, and there is going to be a fourth one. I'm not sure what the fourth one's going to be yet, though. I don't know if it's going to be just culture in general, or maybe the slow rise of sneaker culture over time. But it's going to be one of the two. But yeah, that's what I've been working on right now. And then obviously I have a lot of ideas in here that I've been working on too that I want to kind of dive into eventually when I'm done that series. So pretty much just still going in that statuesque type of era. That's pretty much what I'm going to be working on for the next few, I don't know, months, weeks, years.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's dope. I also interview like artists,
Mm-hmm.
on this platform, and listening to you talk um, more moves into that space, right? Because I don't know of that many shoe customizers, or at least I haven't talked to that many who said, "Hey, I have this theme that I'm trying to portray this specific thing about or talk about this
Yep.
topic or theory. So I think that's I find that very very interesting. So I'm excited to see where that goes and how that continues to grow for you.
Yeah.
So
Appreciate that.
um you mentioned over 10 years doing this. This question may be difficult for you in that space because you got a lot of stuff to choose from. So
All right.
give me your top five shoes that you've created.
This was the only question I was certain you were going to ask. Just it's an inevitable question.
Yeah.
My top five. That is a crazy question. Um, my top five. So I think so. I'm gonna say honorable mention at least. So I have one honorable mention. It's gonna be a pair of Kyrie fours that I painted for my brother's birthday. He's 6 years older than me. I was 5.5 years older than me, and his favorite movie is Space Jam, or at least it was when we were kids. Um, I think it's like Shawshank Redemption now, but I'm not
Mhm.
painting that on a shoe. So it was Space Jam when we were kids, and his favorite player is Kyrie. So I put those two together, and that's a super clean shoe. I think that shows off my character work better than any other shoe that I've done. So that's got to be an honorable mention. Um, my I have a shoe. I'm gonna put actually at number four. I'm gonna cheat again a little, or number five. I'm gonna cheat a little bit and just say any of the shoes or all the shoes from this deconstructing sneaker culture series. I don't want to put them too high due to recency bias, but I really am a big fan of them, and I think they're nice. So they're all gonna sneak in there at number five. Number four. Number four. Number four. I think I'm gonna have to put these menthol tens. I don't think I have them posted anywhere, but let me go get these real quick. I would say these ones are probably
Okay.
going to be in my four slot. I haven't posted them yet, but I have the video filmed and everything, and I made these over 2 years ago. I think these have a lot of nice detail. Obviously, in reference to the original menthol tens.
Yeah. Did you make the
So
box too?
I did make the box. Yeah, I made it out of cardboard and vinyl on the Cricut machine. And that's another thing I really love to do. I really like making boxes. So I guess that's my four. My three. My three is probably going to be a shoe I made a while ago called the First Aid Kicks. And they were an Air Max 1. And I used suede. Yeah, I used suede dye on there to give it some. It was a red shoe. And I used like a dark red suede dye. And I gave it some logo. I think I gave it like water droplets or whatever type of medical logos you could really think of. I put up there. I got a metal box off eBay for that's like a first aid kit, and I put the shoes in there, and then I made some like intricate laces. Like I made a fake, like a faux little Band-Aid box and put brown laces in there. Then I did the same thing with like a pill bottle. It was a big orange pill bottle, put orange laces in there, and then a little Aquafina bottle that I rebranded and put blue laces in there, and that's kind of just sitting in there. And I really like that one. A lot of details in that one. So what's that? Was that my three or was that my four? I'm
That
getting
was
lost.
three. That
That
was
was my
three.
th- that was my three,
Yeah.
and then my number two. My number two is probably my Chuckies, just because
Okay.
they've
Yeah.
they've definitely done the best for me. I think they've done the best for me. I mean, I think the XXX shoes that they've done all right. The Juice WRLD shoes have done all right, but I think the Chuckies have done the best for me. I like those a lot. Yeah. I'm gonna say the Chuckies. And then I think my absolute best one. Here, let me go get these real quick. I'm sorry, I gotta keep moving the camera around.
No, you good.
Probably my NES.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Probably these ones. I mean, this one just has the most detail. I'm not even gonna bring this shoe out. I'm just gonna bring the sketch out at this rate. Has the buttons on the back. Has just the detail goes crazy on these, and I put a lot of detail into these. I am gonna bring this shoe. Yeah, got the screws. This with a lighter turns red. Leather patches aerated, like the vents on the top, the two-tone. I have the controller that plugs into the box. Like they got a lot of detail on those. I really like those. And coincidentally, the Chuckies and the NES shoes were both were both for contests for you had Dillon DeJesus on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were both for one of his contests.
Okay.
And they were for top 4 for his contest. So there's I don't know what it is about him. I don't know if he's an artist himself or if his categories are so like specifically vague or what the case is, but I really love the topics he puts out. So
Yeah. Yeah. He gives a lot of tips,
oh,
and
absolutely.
tricks
Yeah,
and
no.
stuff. So for sure.
Yeah, like I
Um,
said, when I first started, there wasn't a lot of people doing the whole tips and tricks things. But if you're watching this and you haven't seen, you're a little lost on the whole customization thing, you got to go to his channel straight away.
yeah. Yeah. You'll definitely get a lot of information,
Definitely.
from him. Yeah. I mean, him and then, even though very, very, I would say strong niche, but Vic Almighty too.
Yeah,
Both
definitely.
of them give a lot of detail, and actually show you, right? Like it's
Exactly.
one
Yep.
thing to talk about it, but to show you and be able to capture it is another thing. So they both give a lot of good information in that space for sure. Um, Next question for you: if someone is saying, "Hey, I'm going to get into customizing shoes or starting," give me one tip that you would give to them, one piece of advice.
Well, I mean, it really depends on why they're getting into it. If they're saying, "Yo, I want to make money, I want to customize sneakers," I would just tell them don't. But if they really are passionate about art and they say, "Oh, I think like sneakers as a canvas is something I want to get into. Do you have any tips?" You got this is like the tip that everybody's going to give you, but I think preparation is everything. You got to prep the sneaker for it to be wearable. I mean, obviously, your art is going to evolve over years. I can't just sit here and say, "All right, make the best art." You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Yeah.
obvious, but some people aren't able to do that until they get some practice, right? So, but preparation, you got to acetone it. You got to tape it up crispy. You got to less is more when it comes to paint. So you got to do thin layers, and eventually you'll be able to get the hang of it. Obviously, practice on. I was fortunate enough that my brother was letting me practice on all his shoes. I messed up all his shoes, all my shoes and stuff like that. So before you really go out there and kind of ruin your name by painting someone's shoes and making it bad, you just practice on all the shoes you have. Go on eBay, like Air Force One bulk or lot or whatever, and just buy like 8 of them for $100 or whatever, and just go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, definitely gotta get that practice in. Um, I can't remember who I was talking with about that, but um, the other thing, go buy some cheap shoes, man. I
Yeah,
I remember going to when I was getting back into painting shoes. It's like I'm just gonna go to Walmart, buy a couple of these $20, off the shelf,
yeah,
and see how this goes because those making sure you have thin layers and how many layers and how different colors work and like what I'm saying, like trying to work with yellow is a pain in the butt.
yeah. No, it's the worst. It's
Like
absolutely
so
the worst.
like different things like that, like what does that look like in that process, and how do I not kick up the stitching too much, and like there's just so many like small things to think about. So definitely practice. Yeah, I would agree with you on that for sure. Before messing somebody else's shoe up or going to purchase some $100 shoe and then messing it
Exactly.
up. So, yeah, that'd be rough. So what's next for you? I know that you're working on. You mentioned there's a hopefully a number 4 in the series that you're
hmm
doing, but what's next for you in this past that I would guess.
I think for the like I said, doing a Minecraft show would be cool because the movie's coming out. I don't know if I'm gonna do it, uh, but I think I got to do the 4th in the deconstructing sneaker culture, whether that be just culture in general as a topic or kind of the financial like stability side of it for building up. I don't know if I'm going to deconstruct a sneaker culture and make it into a building, or deconstruct a shoe and make it into kind of like a hub where culture kind of thrives. I was thinking maybe like a bodega or something that kind of just rings true to people who have kind of grown up with sneakers. So I'm still trying to figure that one out. But after that, I really want to get into more, I kind of want to expand what I'm able to do. So I want to do shoes with lights. I want to do shoes with smoke. I want to do, I just want to find a way to implement something new into something I already do and kind of just evolve like that way. That's usually what I do. For the past couple of years, I've always wanted to do something, at least one new element in every custom sneaker I do, regardless of how small it is. Back in the day when I was just wanting to do it, I was, okay, cool, let me dye these laces, or, oh, let me, take this stitch off, like, just take the swoosh off, my bad. So you would kind of just, one new thing on every custom pair of shoe, I feel like is really going to let you grow and thrive. And then that way you could look back on it and you just have like a repertoire of things you're able to do on a shoe that you could put forth on a next shoe and kind of be different from everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. So where could the people find you at, follow you at, if they wanted to get some work from you? What are those locations?
So it's just going to be JDubCustoms, no spaces. I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I mean, I don't post on Twitter, but I'm on there at JDubCustoms. The website, if you want to get something from me, is JDubCustoms. It's JDubCustoms across the board. I think that's it. All JDubCustoms, I've kind of changed it. Certain ones semi-recently more than others. So it's JDubCustoms everywhere, JDubCustoms.com, JDubCustoms on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Usually if you're going to find me, I'm going to be posting on YouTube or posting on Instagram. So if you want to come talk to me, just reach out to me on Instagram.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being on the show. I greatly appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, for sure. And keep it up, man. I think the work's dope.
Appreciate it.
That's been another episode of the Lace 'em Up podcast. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't done so already, remember to do that. Thank you for your comments. All right. If there's a question you want me to ask an artist while they're on here, go ahead and drop it in the comments section, and we can incorporate some of your questions into these interviews. Who else do you think should be on the podcast? Blow them up. Let them know about the Lace 'em Up podcast, and hopefully we can get them on here as well. All right. Until next time, remember, fear is fake. Creating is problem solving. Peace.
Forward. Listen, it takes wisdom to grab these sneakers and spin them. Cut a couple of linen and match them up with the denim called Davidedo. He'll cook it up like a kilo and have your Air Ones appropriate with the stilo. He's no Lilo, but he's mean with the stitch.